Ooh, you know I don't like editing, John.
I know, but I can do it. If you need
John's good at it. Too tedious. Okay, so we're recording, and the reason we're doing this is then we can share it with other facilitators that can't make it. Or Richard, if you wanted just a copy of it, I could send it to you too.
Can you hear me at this time?
I can.
I can. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can. Well, I guess this thing works then. Okay, thank you.
Much better than in the past that you're not dropping out like you were before.
Okay, fine. I'll keep it on then. Thank you.
I might have to mute. My husband is pounding on something outside, and I think it's picking up.
I'm not hearing anything, but yeah.
And usually, Pam, I mute out once John starts. Once after we do this, I mute out until you ask me a question, and then you usually have to say, "You're muted."
Well, let's see. It's 1:03. I guess we probably ought to get started. What do you think, Linda? Shall we go ahead and start? Okay. All right. Let me bring up my. First of all, are there any questions? I know a couple of you have been here before. Are there any specific questions that you wanted answered? No? Okay.
I guess I'm hoping to learn how to actually set up a Zoom meeting or class. I don't,
Okay.
you know,
We'll
I've participated in them, but I don't know the behind the scenes part of it.
Okay. Okay. Most of that will be taken care of by your OLLI staff member, but it's good to know that just so you can set up your own meetings, like for your family or friends or whatever. So we'll talk about that at the end of the class. How you
Great,
actually
thanks.
go about doing that. Okay. All right. Well, let's see if I can get this going here. Can everybody see my slide? Now you're probably seeing a slide with some videos on the right-hand side. Is that correct? Anybody's not seeing that? Raise your hand. Okay. You can adjust how much space is allocated for those videos if you're not getting everybody in there. Let's see, we've got, what, 6 people in the class. You may be only seeing maybe 5 videos or something. So by putting your cursor on the right edge of my PowerPoint slide and dragging it a little to the left, a gray line will pop up when you do that. If you drag it to the left, it'll make more room for the videos. So just so you know that, that'll be true even when you take your OLLI classes. You can adjust how you see it on the screen so you can see everybody in the class if you want to. What I've done now is I have brought up my PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to stay through this, and this gives you step-by-step instructions on how to start and run a Zoom meeting. So first of all, I want to thank you for, first of all, volunteering to teach a class, and secondly, for attending this class. This is what really makes OLLI go. We need facilitators, and I know it's kind of scary to, you know, even if you've taught a class in the past in the classroom, this is something altogether new. So we're going to kind of go through this step by step. How many of you got in your email a document containing this PowerPoint presentation? Okay, Richard, Bill? Bill's gotten it before, I think. Pam, did you get it? Okay, all right, so Linda will, after the meeting here, she will send you a PDF file that'll contain all these slides. What I usually recommend you do is just print those out and lay them next to your computer and then go through them yourself to practice. And so, because it's hard to remember everything I say here, but it's all on the slides. So. All right, so of course we're facing this COVID thing and we're all having to stay home, and how do we have OLLI? So we've decided to go with Zoom like you're seeing here, and it seems kind of intimidating if you've never done it before, but it actually is pretty straightforward. And we'll go through it step by step. You're going to have an OLLI staff person there to help you. So if you're feeling a little queasy about, can I handle this and so forth, that OLLI staff person is going to take care of all the details of scheduling your class, sending out all the invitations. She will tell you how to sign in to get your classroom roster, and you'll be able to do that. We'll talk a little bit about why you'd want to do that. So your OLLI staff person is going to check in with you. You're going to ideally check in 15 minutes prior to your class. You're going to start your Zoom meeting, and then your OLLI staff member will join you there a few minutes after you start. And then the two of you will have some time to get anything resolved, any last minute details resolved. If there's any confusion or something you need to know how to do, you'll have some time prior to the class to do that. So you'll want to check in about 15 minutes early. We'll talk about that in a minute. There's three
John,
ways that you, yes, go ahead.
So if we're teaching a class via Zoom, do we physically go to the OLLI, to the Yavapai College site?
We'll talk about that later, but it depends on your internet service, how good your internet service is. If it's fairly fast, then you probably can host it from home. The one qualifier is if you plan to use videos in your presentation, you most likely will need to come in to OLLI, and that has to do with the speed of your internet connection. So we'll talk about that in detail later in the talk. So you will have that option though. Okay, there's basically three ways you can conduct your class. One of them is you can simply lecture, okay? Everyone will see your picture big on the screen, and you can go through your presentation just like I'm doing right now. The second way you can do it is kind of a roundtable discussion. You can have everybody's video on the screen at the same time. You won't even be using a PowerPoint, let's say. So everybody can see everybody. You can all raise your hands. You can all talk back and forth, just like you would if you were all sitting around a table. A third way is to use a PowerPoint, which is what I'm doing right here. You can also switch between these during your class. For example, you might give a talk for a while. Maybe you use a PowerPoint during your talk, and when you get all done, maybe you're going to want to have a discussion. Or you may want to switch back and forth. Maybe you'll talk about something, and then you'll want to leave some time for questions, and then you'll go back to talking with your PowerPoint. So there's no reason you can't switch back and forth between these. We'll talk about how you do that. So what are you going to need? You're going to need either a desktop or a laptop computer, and you're going to need a good internet connection. So if you, well, let's see, I think Bill has that, Richard has that. Pam, do you have a laptop or a desktop computer?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so you're going to be all set there, and we'll be testing, they're telling you how to test your internet link to make sure that it's fast enough and so forth later on. The way that you test your link, your internet connection, is go to this speedtest.net on the web, and up on your screen will pop this big go button, and you push the go button, and it'll run a test, and it'll tell you what your upload speed and what your download speed is. Okay, here's an example I ran on mine. I have what's called a DSL connection through CenturyLink. Some people have connection through a cable company, or there's what's the other? Well, there's another company that offers links also, but DSL is probably the slowest, and you can see my download speed is about 11 megabits per second, which is plenty. You only need maybe a couple of megabits download. My upload speed is only 0.78, and that's not enough for videos. It's kind of marginal. So you'll want to run a test on yours and see how yours looks. So you're going to need at least 0.6 megabits per second to be able to host a meeting and teach your class. If you don't have 0.6 megabits upload speed, then you probably have to come into an OLLI classroom and teach it from there. We've got computers there that have a lot of speed, and they can even accommodate videos if you want to put videos into your PowerPoint, or if you want to use a DVD in your class, you can do that in the classroom. So you're going to need 1.5 megabits per second if you're going to use videos from home. That means that's an upload speed from your home. And I don't know. I think most people that'll be teaching classes will not have that much upload speed. So you've got a choice: either you don't use videos, or you come into the OLLI Center if you want to use them. It's certainly available to you if you need. And as I said before, you can either use videos embedded in your PowerPoint presentation, or you can use the DVD player. Some people like to use the Great Courses DVDs and stuff like that. Your OLLI staff person is going to send you an email. And this is important because it tells you how to log into your class, how to start your class. And so you'll want to save that email somewhere where you can find it on the day of your class, maybe on your desktop or something like that. And it will have two important things in it. It'll have a little chart that looks like what you're seeing on the screen here. There's a Zoom email, and basically what that is, that's your classroom number. Okay, you see it says SV OLLI Classroom 1. Yours might say Classroom 2 or 3 or whatever. Okay, so you're going to need that. Second thing you need is the password. We use passwords to allow people into the classes just to make sure we only have people that are supposed to be there. So those are the two things that you're going to need to start your class. So like I said, save it someplace where you can find it easily on the day of your class. You may get this thing well ahead of your class. If you're teaching in the fall, for example, you might get it 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of time. So you'll want to make sure you save it. Otherwise, it ends up down your email list, and later on you're scrambling around to try to find it when you get ready to start your class. This is kind of how an OLLI class is structured. You typically have a host, well, you'll always have a host, and then you might have a co-host. And co-host is just sort of a sidekick to help the host out. And then you have what Zoom calls participants. In our case, they're students. So the host is the facilitator, and the participants are the students. And your co-host will sort of help you as you're teaching your class. If someone comes in late, for example, they might go ahead and admit that person. We'll talk about how to do that later. And they can also look to see if someone's raising their hand, wanting to ask a question. You might be busy giving your talk, you don't notice someone raised their hand. So your co-host can mention that to you, just so you can take care of that. So you're going to be the host. That's the role of the facilitator. And you can choose anyone you want in the class to be your co-host. And you can then designate them to be the co-host. I would probably ask them to log in a little bit early so you can talk with them a little bit before the class starts. And then you actually pick them and say, this is going to be a co-host. We'll talk about how you'll do that here shortly. So to host your class, you're going to have to download the Zoom app. So how do you do that? You go to zoom.us/download, and you'll see something on your screen that looks like this with a big blue download button. So you just click on that button, and that's really all you have to do. It'll download that app into your computer. Doesn't matter what kind of computer you have, PC or Macintosh, it'll download it. In fact, you can even, I wouldn't advise it hosting classes from a cell phone or a tablet, but you can obviously, you can very easily attend classes using a cell phone or an iPad, something like that. So in that case, I'd say it's a good idea to go ahead and download the Zoom app. Makes things move a little smoother. So we're going to kind of lead up to the day of your class and talk about what you're going to be doing to get ready for your class. A few days before your class, you're going to want to get your class roster. And you're going to get that from the Yavapai College registration system. They know everybody that's registered for your class, and they know everybody's emails and so forth. So what you're going to do is you're going to send out a reminder to everyone. I mentioned before that some people may get their invitation to the class several weeks prior to the class. If they register for the class a month ahead of time, then they'll get an email as soon as they register, and that'll be sitting there in their email box. By the time the class rolls around, they may have forgotten about it, and you don't want them to miss your class. So the way you head that off is you get a copy of the class roster, which will have everybody's email addresses, and you send out a reminder to everyone. We'll talk about how you're going to do that. Typically a day or two before class is the ideal time to do that, because that way they'll remember. So how do you get your class roster? Well, you go to this link right here, and it will ask you to enter the username and the password. In order to get in, you have a preview that was sent to you, okay? And that, we'll go back here and look. I mentioned right here, okay? This is what you're going to use. Oops, this is the Zoom email password. Let's see, did I put that in here? That's a good question. You'll be getting, I didn't, I don't think. So you'll be getting a username and a password from your OLLI staffer, and you will put those in there. Now you're registering, in this case, into the college system. You're not registering in Zoom. So you've got a separate username and password to get into the college. So this is where you to get your roster. I heard a bong here. Okay. So when you go there and log in, this is what will pop up on your screen. Okay. You'll get a red warning here. And the red warning, basically, some people panic when they see that. So we're just saying, that's okay, don't worry about that. On the left-hand side, you'll see it says My Profile. Okay. You have not logged in, and the college system knows who you are, and you're asking now for your profile. So you click on that, and this will come up. And on the right-hand side, it'll say Print. And what will happen is this will come up on your screen. Up in the upper left-hand corner, you have two icons. And those two icons give you two options. Down below, you see this is your roster. We've got the names blacked out and so forth, but you'll have a name and an email for each person in your class. Okay, so you basically have two choices. You can either download an Excel file, which will contain these, or you can actually print them out. Okay, it's usually a good idea to download them, because if you print them out, you're going to have to type in everyone's address in order to send them their reminders. That's the purpose for doing this. So you click on the icon to download the Excel file, and you'll end up with an Excel file that has everyone's name and email addresses. It's the email addresses that you're going to want. So you'll click on that and drag down the list of the email addresses and copy. And then has everyone used Excel before? Okay, all right. If there's any questions about that, just let me know. So on the day of your class, now you've sent out the reminders. Hopefully everybody arrives. You've got to open your own class, and that means you've got to go in your classroom, get all set up. The way you do that is you go back to that email that you put on your desk, and it'll have this Zoom email on it, and it'll have a password. And that's what you're going to need to be able to open your class. So 30 minutes before your class, assuming you're using a PowerPoint, you'll want to get your PowerPoint ready to go. This is before you start your class. Okay? So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you bring up your PowerPoint file on your screen, on your desktop. At the top of your PowerPoint window will be a thing called Slideshow. And I show it down here at the bottom of the screen. There's a tab that says Slideshow. So you'll click on that tab. When you do that, you'll get this row of stuff across the bottom. And one of them will say Set Up Slideshow. So you click on that. When you click on that, you'll see what show pops up on the bottom of the screen right here. It says Show Type, and there's 3 different types. What you'll want to do is click on the one that says Browse by Individual Window. Window is the key word there. So you just click on that and then click OK. Now you'll have, you prepared your PowerPoint presentation. Now you'll actually want to start it. So you want to go to your first slide, and then there's a little icon in PowerPoint, looks like a projector screen. You'll click on that, and that'll actually bring up your PowerPoint on your desktop, okay? Just as if you were going to be giving it to your class, okay? Your class won't be open yet, but you're getting it ready. It'll look like this. Here's my desktop, and here's my PowerPoint presentation on it. And I've gone into the actual show mode. Now you see the 2 black bars on the sides. That's because I've got this window a little bit too wide, okay? You can click on the corner and drag it and adjust the size so that it exactly fits into the space, okay? If you don't do that, then you'll end up with some bars, and nothing terrible about that, like this, for example, okay? So I can just click on this and adjust this until I don't have those bars. If you got too long this way, it'll look like that. So it's just kind of a nice thing to know. You do all this before your class to get it all ready. So it's sitting there on your desktop and it's waiting. So now, we were 30 minutes before your class getting your PowerPoint presentation ready. Now, 15 minutes before your class, you're actually going to want to check into your classroom. You do that by going to zoom.us/sign-in, and you use that email address. In this case, it shows a Classroom 2 email address. You paste that in there, and then you paste in the password. Both of these were sent to you by your OLLI staff member. Once you've got those in there, you click on Sign In, that blue button at the bottom. Okay. So now this is what you'll see. Okay. Keep in mind that you're teaching in a virtual classroom. Okay. And this classroom is going to be hosting several different classes during the OLLI session. Okay. During our summer session. So this is a list of the classes that are being held in that virtual classroom, and yours is going to be in the list. Okay. So you got to look down through this list and find yours. And then over on the right-hand side, there's called a Start button. Okay. It says Start, but what it should really say is Select, because you're selecting from this list which one of these classes you want to actually start. So you click on the Start button. Okay. When you do that, this thing will pop up on your screen. Okay. You'll see a live video of yourself, and then in front of that video will be this box. It'll say Join with Computer Audio. Okay. What that's saying is that you want your computer to pick up your voice and deliver it. In other words, assuming there's a microphone and a camera in your computer, that's how everybody's going to see you and hear you. So you're basically giving the computer permission to turn on your audio and pick up what you say. So now you're going to be in your classroom. You're all alone. You just open the classroom. About 10 minutes before your classroom starts, your OLLI staff member will arrive. And purpose being to basically touch bases with you, make sure everything's okay. So it's 1/4 and your OLLI staff member arrives at 10 till. When the staff member arrives, this black box will pop up on your screen. It'll say, Name has entered the waiting room. Name will be your OLLI staff member's name. Just fill in the name there. And you'll see a big blue Admit button. And the Admit button is, you give that person permission to come from the waiting room into the classroom. So they're going to sit there in the waiting room until you click Admit. So you click the Admit button. Now you're going to see your staff person. You're going to see a video, and you're going to be able to hear them. Okay. So this is your time to get ready for your class. If you have any questions, if you need just a quick answer, whatever, you'll have time to talk to them, or just chat if you want to. Calm down the butterflies in your stomach or whatever. In the waiting room, okay? And so you'll get a notice just like this again for each student that arrives, and you'll have the same Admit button. So you go through the same process to admit each student to the classroom. As you admit the students, their video will pop up on your screen along with yours and your OLLI facilitator and your OLLI staff members. So you'll start off with 2 videos, just you and the staff member, and then as each person arrives, another video will be added to that. And depending on how many people you have in your class, that's how many videos you'll have. Hopefully that will all attend. Now there's different ways of looking at this. Oops, got a problem here. Sorry about that. You can either, there's two ways to view the people in the class. One is called the gallery view, and the other is called the speaker view. Okay. What you're seeing on this screen right here is what's called the gallery view. It shows everyone in the class. Okay. It shows the facilitator, shows the OLLI staff member, and it shows anyone else that enters the classroom. And as you can see, as you add more and more people, the videos are going to get smaller. Okay. So, but you'll still be able to see everyone. But this is the gallery view, and you can see everybody. Here's an example of a gallery view with 3 people in the meeting. Maybe you've had yourself, your OLLI staff member, and the first person has arrived. Okay. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, first of all, you're seeing all 3 people, and they're fairly big because there's only 3 people in the class. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see something that says Speaker View. Some people get confused about that because they think that's telling them that you're in Speaker View, and that's not the case. You're actually in Gallery View. You're in the same view here, okay? But Speaker View means you click there if you want to change over to Speaker View. Okay? So if you click on that button, then you'll get something that looks like this. Looks a little bit different. you've got whoever is speaking at that given time, or whoever spoke last, will it be in this big box on your screen. You'll have an expanded view of them. And then everyone else will be across the top here. Okay. And again, if you look closely up to the upper end corner in this, it says gallery view. So that gives you the option, if you click on that button, then you go back to the gallery view. All right, now when you get everybody into the class, basically you want to take a few moments and make sure everybody's microphone's turned on, you know, so you get everybody kind of settled. I usually plan on reserving about 5 minutes at the beginning of class just to kind of get everything straightened away. You know, you may have some people that haven't used Zoom very much, and they don't understand the microphone and the camera and that sort of stuff. So normally they will enter with their microphone turned on, but you know, you just want to check that. If you look at the picture here of Jessica, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner there's a red microphone with a slash through it. What that's telling you is Jessica's microphone is muted. Okay? And that means that if she says something, you won't be able to hear her. You'll see her lips moving, but you won't be able to hear her. And you may have to tell her, Jessica, turn your microphone on. Okay. Now there's a special case. Sometimes you'll have people attending your class. They may be doing it on their cell phone. They may be doing it over a cell phone link, which is a relatively slow link. Sometimes their video is kind of choppy. It doesn't look very good, and it may even affect the sound. So what they can do, if they're having that kind of a problem, is they can turn off their video. They can turn off their camera. We'll talk about how to do that. And that'll still allow them to see you and the class, but you won't be able to see them. What it does is it reserves their bandwidth for sound. So if they speak, you'll be able to understand them better. It won't be so choppy. That's kind of a special case. It's not very often we have to do that, but in some cases that might help if you're having someone that's having difficulty.
John?
Yes, go ahead.
Pam, just a question. I've participated in Zoom meetings where people came in late, and I guess they were in the waiting room, and maybe the facilitator did not, it seems like the facilitator was not aware they were in a waiting room, and they kind of were having trouble getting in.
Yeah.
You know, I was wondering how that works.
Okay, that's the reason why I said it's a good idea to have a co-host. Busy doing your presentation, and you may not notice this thing coming up on the screen, so your co-host can go ahead and admit that person to the class. So that's one case where it's really helpful to have a co-host. Another case is if someone is raising their hand, like they want to say something, you may not be aware of that because you're busy, you know, talking and so forth. So your co-host can bring that to your attention and say, you know, Pam's got a question here. So the way you did it is another way. There's a lot of different ways to handle questions. You just said, John, I've got a question, and that's fine. Raising your hand is also a way to do that. There's a chat box. That's another way. We'll talk about that later. But I think that either raising your hand or just saying something is fine, especially if you don't have a huge class. I think, you know, that works pretty well. Now,
Okay,
keep in mind that we talked about the gallery view and the speaker view. You can switch back and forth anytime, okay? If you're attending a class, you can switch back. No one will know you've even switched. All you're doing is switching what's shown on your screen and whatever you want to do. If you want to focus in on whoever's speaking, you can go to the speaker view. If you want to see everybody, like maybe you're kind of going around the class and people are just kind of throwing in comments and stuff, you can see everyone that way. So, like I said, this only affects your screen. So don't be afraid to use that feature however you want. Now, at the bottom of the screen, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see it says participants, and it'll have a number, probably the number 6, since we have 6 people in the class. Everybody see that? Okay. If you click on that, you'll get on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll get a list of the people who are currently in the class. It'll have all their names. Okay. I'll put this up here just so I can talk intelligently. Okay. Next to each person, you'll see their picture, and then you'll see their name. Sometimes you don't see their picture. It depends on whether or not when they configure their Zoom app, they put a photograph in it. You have the option of doing that. If you don't do that, it'll typically just put your name up there. Okay. As the facilitator, you'll have options to turn people's microphone off, or you can even turn their video off if you want, turn it back on, and so forth. If you don't see this bar at the bottom of your screen, drag your cursor down to the bottom and it'll pop up. Sometimes if you've got like a laptop, the screen's kind of small, that may just kind of drop away and become invisible because they're trying to preserve your screen space. Okay, so have you all clicked on the participants button now? You got that list on the right-hand side of your screen? Okay, that's pretty much how it'll look if you're a facilitator. You'll have the names, except you'll have this additional, these blue buttons next to their names. One will say mute. I mentioned before that you can turn off their microphone. So you click on that button if you want to mute that person. And then there's a more button. Okay. So, question. Why would you want to mute someone? Typically, you'd mute someone if there's a noise in the background. Maybe their spouse is running the vacuum cleaner or something, or maybe there's just a barking dog or something, and you don't want that interrupting your class. So by just clicking on the mute button, you can stop that sound from coming in and interrupting the class. Sometimes you don't know where it's coming from. You can hear it, but you don't know, if someone's looking around and saying shush, shush, or something like that, you can pretty much tell it's them. But if you don't know where it's coming from, you also, as the facilitator, as the host, you have a button at the bottom of the list that says mute all. Okay? You can click on that and that'll just mute everybody. Okay? That's a quick way to get rid of the background noise. Importantly, it doesn't mute you, so you can still talk to everybody and continue with the class. Now, we mentioned there was also a more button. In addition to mute, there's more, and that gives you some other options as the host. Okay. If you click on the more button, you'll see this menu drop down here, and it'll give you several choices. I typically don't use very many of these, but there's a couple of them that are useful. One of them is the make co-host click. So if there's a person in your class and you want to designate them as the co-host, and we mentioned that it's useful to have co-host, you just basically go over to their line in the list, and you click on the more button next to their name, and you click on make co-host. Okay. Another thing that you might want to do is rename. Sometimes people come into the class and they've got their phone number or whatever they've got, instead of their name. It's nice to be able to know who's attending the class, because especially if you're getting into discussion groups or something, you may want to talk back and forth. Not everybody may know everybody. So you can go over here and click the more next to their picture and go down to rename, okay? And just type in their first name or something like that, just to facilitate discussions. I notice we have somebody down, who is this? Let's see, I have the sixth person here. Linda, do you know who this is? Okay, I can't hear you. Is your
Sorry,
working?
Suzette made it and Barry made it. So we have two other people that came in during that time. And I believe Richard has a question for you, John.
Okay, go ahead, Richard. You're gonna have to turn your microphone.
Yes,
There you go.
I got it. The question, I was playing around back, I'm sorry, where am I? With the participant screen where you can mute or unmute people and you get a raised hand. And I clicked on that, and do you see that or the co-host see that? Because nothing showed up on my video. And I was just curious.
There's a hand that appears on your video. Just kind of.
Where it says Richard Abbott raised his hand. That's how I saw it. It just took me that long to get in, Richard.
No, that's fine. It doesn't do anything on the video I'm watching, and I just wanted to know if somebody clicked on that, then
your video should show your hand raised on your video. In the corner, upper left-hand corner, it puts an icon on there.
I'm curious, can anybody else see? It said Richard's hand is raised. I could see it. Did anybody else see it?
Yeah.
This is Suzette. I cannot see it. Where I can see that his hand is raised is when I go to participants. There's a hand up.
Yeah,
And I can
yes, that's
see
what,
that his microphone is on and that his video camera is on. But I don't see anything on his little tile in the meeting.
yes, it's on the videos alongside that the hand shows up. Mhm.
I don't see it on my, as long as
On the
somebody
participants
saw it,
list.
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right, it's important, and we did this at the beginning of our class. I think Suzette joined us a little later and stuff, but it's important to notify everybody that you'll be recording the class. Okay, this is the beginning of your class. We do this basically just so that if someone misses the class, that they can watch the class later on. And these videos will only be shown to people who have actually registered for the class. So some people are a little shy. They may not want their, to be recorded. If you feel that way, you can turn off your microphone and you can turn off your camera. You can still see the class, you can still participate in the class, but people won't be able to see or hear you, okay? So you have that option, okay? Just mentioning that. All right. Now, we mentioned showing your PowerPoint, okay? If you're going to use a PowerPoint in your class, you're going to have to use what's called a share screen feature. And we talked about earlier on, before your class started, you got your PowerPoint up on the screen and you got it running, all ready to go. This is the way that you actually show that to everyone else. It's sitting on your desktop, but they can't see it yet. So down at the bottom of your screen, in that bar across the bottom, that you'll have, there's a thing called share screen. It's a big green button, right, usually right in the middle. Does everybody see the share screen button? Okay, all right. By clicking on that button, it'll show you everything you can share. And basically you can share any window that's open on your desktop. So it'll show you all the windows. Here's an example of what mine looked like, okay? Tigger had already joined the class. This is upper left-hand corner here, so you see his video. There's my OLLI first slide on my presentation here, and that was sitting open on my desktop. And what it will do is it will show each of the possibilities here. In this case, this little slide here is shown in its own box. Okay? You can click on whatever it is you want to share. In this case, I clicked on the PowerPoint presentation, okay? And it put a blue box around it saying, this is selected. Okay? Then you go over to the right-hand side and you click the share button. When you do that, this will pop up on your screen. It's basically your PowerPoint slide with this green boundary around it here. And you'll notice I didn't adjust my box. I've got bars on the right and left. No big harm in that, but you'll have a green border, and that green border says this is what everyone else is seeing on their screen. Okay. So as you step through your slides, whatever's inside the green border will show. What you will see as the facilitator, you're going to see a box with your PowerPoint presentation. And then to the right of it, you're going to see a list of videos. In this case, Tigger had joined my meeting, but no one else had. So I captured that with me and Tigger on there. Now, in a class, you would have a list of people here, okay, in this box. And I say a list. You'll have videos of everyone there. Okay? It'll be shown as a second window. This PowerPoint window can be moved around on your desktop, and you can resize it. This is why we ask you to prepare your PowerPoint presentation. It doesn't fill the whole screen on your own desktop, so you can adjust your screen however you want. Now, in this case, we've got two students. We've got me and one student, Tigger, in the class. As the number of videos gets longer, they'll be added to the bottom here, and eventually we reach a point where there's no more videos. Students, you're going to need to adjust the size of these windows. What I typically do is that I make my PowerPoint window smaller, okay? And then I can make the other window larger alongside it. You just click on that edge of the window and resize it. Okay, now the two videos on the side here are shown in what's called a video panel. That's a separate panel from your share screen PowerPoint thing here. So sometimes you may find that it doesn't show up over here. And if you do, you'll have a bar at the top. This is just like the one at the bottom, except they put it at the top. Over at the right-hand end, there's three dots. You click on that, a menu drops down. Okay, and one of the selections on that menu is Show Video Panel. So if you click on that, I marked it with a red arrow here. You click on that, that's what will make this window right here pop up. Okay, and like I said, once you've made it pop up, you can adjust the size of it, however you need to adjust it, just by dragging it around on your desktop and so forth. So again, just to emphasize, you can reduce the size, you can enlarge the size, you can make them wider, make them whatever shape you want, and you can enlarge the size of your video panel so that everybody can be seen at once. The reason you really want to be able to see all the students in the class while you're teaching is if someone raises their hand, you'd like to be able to see that, you know. Even if you have a co-host, you know, you may be able to, if you don't have a lot of students, you may be able to follow it, okay? Okay, let's suppose you've gotten to the end of your PowerPoint now, and you're all ready to close it. Up here in the upper edge of the green bordered window is a red button. It says Stop Share. Okay, Stop Share means I'm all done. I want to now close out my PowerPoint presentation. I don't need to show it to them. When you click on that, what will happen is you'll go back to either the gallery view or the speaker view. And that's useful at the end of the class because you may want to have a discussion. You may want to entertain questions, say, does anybody have any questions and so forth. So as soon as you close that, your share window, it'll go back to full screen video, okay, with your gallery view. Okay. Sometimes you forget to close that PowerPoint window and people's screen is filled with that last slide, okay. I've done that myself. I failed to close the window. And as a result, you know, everybody is kind of crowded off into one corner. So it's nice to remember that, okay? When you get all done and you go back into the gallery view, you can say, raise your hand if you have any questions, okay? You may find that some people's microphones are turned off. Like Richard right now has his microphone turned off. You can see that red icon down the lower left-hand corner. And so let's say Richard raised his hand and started talking. You might have to say, Richard, turn your microphone on, okay? He can hear you, but you can't hear him until he turns that on. So I'm not picking on you, Richard. Just using you as an example. All right, when you get all done with your Zoom meeting, the way you end the meeting is you click in the lower right-hand corner. Now, on your screen, you're probably going to see something like, it says leave, like leave the meeting, okay? Because you're attending the meeting, you're not facilitating the meeting. If you're the host of the meeting, then you're in control. Anytime you want to close the meeting down, you can. People can leave the meeting during the meeting. If they have something they have to go take care of, they can either just get up and walk away and then come back, or they can leave the meeting if they don't plan to come back. So they've got the option. So you're going to have end meeting and they're going to have leave at the bottom of their screen. This is in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. One thing I want to emphasize is you really need to practice. Okay? We've gone through all of this. You're not going to remember everything I said. That's why I recommend that you take the PDF document that you're going to get in the email if you haven't gotten it already, print it out, and then actually schedule some meetings of your own. Okay, pick a friend or a family member or somebody that you'd like to talk to, and just schedule a meeting with them. We'll talk about how you're going to do that here in a minute. But go through the entire process just so you get familiar with what it looks like when you're hosting a meeting. Your screen looks a little different when you host a meeting versus when you are actually attending a meeting. You need to learn how it looks in that case. So in order to host meetings, you have to have a Zoom account. We talked about that earlier. So you want to create the account. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. The account you're going to be using when you're teaching a OLLI class is the college account. And theirs is a paid account. They have some extra things they can do that a free account doesn't do. One of the limitations on a free account is that if you have more than one other person talking to you on your Zoom meeting, you've only got 40 minutes. Now, I think they've waived that right now during this COVID crisis. They're trying to help everybody out. So you might not encounter that. But if you're talking with one other person, you can talk all day long. Doesn't matter, as long as you want to talk. And even if you get cut off after 40 minutes, let's say you've got your family all together talking, and if they do cut you off at 40 minutes, you can start the meeting up again right away, just what they call a meeting, and you can go another 40 minutes. So, and again, it's all free. So there's really no reason not to start a Zoom account. You create the Zoom account by going to zoom.us, and up on the screen, you'll see a sign up for free button. You click on that, and it will ask you to make up a password and give them your email, and they usually ask you for your birthday. I think they use that to see if you're who you say you are. You need to give them an email, a real email address. What they're going to do is send you an email, and it'll have a link in it. They call it a confirmation email, and they're verifying that they do indeed have an email. So when that arrives in your mailbox, you'll then click on a link in there, and that will then activate your account under that email address. So let's say you've created your free account and you've downloaded your Zoom app. Now you're going to start up your Zoom app. Okay? And the first time you do that, if you've never used your Zoom app before, it'll ask you to enter your email address and your password. And so it's important to get on. You'll typically have to enter that email address and that password, and then click on the sign in button. And the app will generally remember that. So the next time you log on, you won't have to enter those in. So you've signed in now. This is what will appear on your screen. You basically get 4 big buttons and then 4 little buttons across the bottom. And one of those buttons is the schedule button. It's called schedule button because it's how you schedule meetings. Okay, you're going to be the host now. You're not just attending the meeting, you're going to be actually starting up your own meeting. And this is not going to be an OLLI classroom meeting. This will be one that you're hosting yourself on your own free account. So you click on the schedule button. When you do that, you'll see this pop up on your screen. It'll say schedule meeting, and it'll have a bunch of blanks to fill in. It'll have the date and time of your meeting, and they will pick, basically they go on about 15-minute increments, but they'll pick the current time and date. They'll assume you want to start an instant meeting, in other words, as a default. If you want to schedule your meeting for next Tuesday at 4 in the afternoon, then you need to go in here and click on these and type over them, okay? You can type whatever you want in there. They also fill in this topic up here, and they just put your name and put Zoom meeting after it. You can write over that, just select the type over it. You put whatever you want as a topic of your meeting. The rest of the stuff I don't generally mess with. These are all kind of default settings. There's really no reason to change them. One thing you want to do at the bottom is click on other calendars. I won't go into all the reasons why you want to do that, but it makes things simpler later on. So now after you fill this stuff in, you filled in the information about your meeting, and you click your other calendars button, you click schedule. What you're doing is you're telling Zoom, okay, schedule my meeting now. I want to officially schedule this meeting. When you do that, this will pop up on your screen. This is over on the right-hand side here. This is a first draft of an invitation to your meeting. And the idea is you create this with the idea in mind of sending it to anybody that you want to invite to your meeting. They basically write this invitation for you. There's some things that people are going to need in order to attend your meeting. For example, they put in the date and time of your meeting that you have said you want to start it up. They put in a link. See where it says join Zoom meeting, and right underneath it is a link. That's the link that people use to enter your meeting. Okay, when that date and time comes, they'll bring up their Zoom or their web browser. They'll click on that link, and that will take them right to that meeting. Okay, in fact, they really don't have to bring up their web browser. It typically comes up when you click on that link. Down below that, there's a meeting ID and a password. Okay, those are built into this link, so you don't have to remember a password or anything. When they click on that, it'll automatically provide that password and get them into the waiting room. Okay. Okay. When you look at all this, you say, okay, copy invitation. Okay, you're going to do a copy and a paste here. That's what this big blue button is for here. You look at what's in this, you go copy invitation. Then what you're going to want to do is go into your mail app and create a blank email, just like you would if you're going to email somebody. You paste into that email, and it will paste this rough draft into there just as you copied it, okay? Now, once you paste it in there, you can edit it. If you change your mind about what you want in the meeting or whatever, you can make it. You can also type something at the top of the email saying, we're going to have a meeting to, all get together and discuss whatever you want in your email. The thing is, you don't want to change the things I marked in red here, because this tells people how you'll get into the meeting. But up above that, at the top of your email, you can type anything you want. Customize it. The one thing, when you get that all done, yes, Richard's got a question.
Yes, the information, when I receive a link from Linda, it's highlighted. How do you highlight the link when you're sending it out?
Well, if you have in your email browser, when you're creating an email, some browsers allow you to select text and then apply highlighting to them. I assume that's what Linda's doing. She's not replying, but so anytime you create an email, you can make the text bold, or you can make it colored, or you can do anything you want. So any of those things you can do to the email before you send it out to customize it.
And then the same way you delete the phone stuff at the bottom, you talked about that last class, which just makes it, there's less stuff to go wrong.
Yes. Okay, that's a good point. Down at the bottom here, you'll find that in the rough draft for the email, it will put all these phone numbers down here. These are really for people who want to use their cell phone to call in and join the meeting. Some people use their cell phone, but usually what they do is they've got Wi-Fi or something like that, so they're actually joining via the internet. This gives them an option to basically use their phone as a phone. In other words, all they're going to do is hear the meeting. They can hear what's going on. I don't know anybody that uses those. They just give you a bunch of numbers you can call. You can pick any one you want, and then there's a meeting ID. Okay, and if you want to use your phone as a regular phone and attend the meeting over the phone, you can do that. You can delete that if you want. When you create your email to send out, just to eliminate the clutter at the bottom of the email, if you assume everybody's going to be attending with their computer or their iPhone or whatever, you can just delete that stuff. It's not important. Okay. The one thing you want to do now, after you get your email all configured, is you're going to want to put in the email for each of the people that you want to attend your meeting. In other words, you're sending this out as an invitation to them. You're the only one that knows the email addresses you want to send it to. So you're just going to put those in there. You should include yourself. You're going to send an email and an invitation to yourself. Okay. That'll make it easier when the time comes to check into your own meeting. You can just click on the link. Okay. That makes it very simple. Well, I always include myself when I send out the invitations. Okay, so now you've created your invitations, and so you're pretty much all done. When you send that email out and come back, you'll see there's a close button down here. Okay, you'll see this on your screen, and there's a close button. So you just click on the close button. Your meeting's been scheduled. You've sent the invitations out. You're all done. That'll take you back to the opening screen on your Zoom app. Okay, you can just close the app at that point. You're all done, assuming you're not starting the meeting right away. When the meeting arrives, basically you're going to want to start up your Zoom app. You're going to click down at the bottom here where it says meetings. Remember I mentioned you had 4 big buttons and then 4 little buttons at the bottom. I marked in red the meetings button. Okay, you can start your Zoom app up and click on that. When you do that, you'll get something that looks like this. Let's assume you've scheduled 4 meetings over the next week, okay, with various people. And now you've forgotten, I remember when those meetings were. So when you click on this list here, when you go into your Zoom app and click on your meetings, it will give you a list of all the meetings that you have scheduled. And for each one, it will tell you, okay, here's the date, here's the time, so forth. And you're going to be selecting one of those, whichever one you want to start. In this case, the test meeting has been selected. And so over on the right-hand side, it gives you all the details. Test meeting is the title of the meeting, when it's going to be, meeting ID, and it says start. Basically, that should say select, not start, because you're selecting from this list here. Okay? So you click start. When you do that, this will pop up on you. You've selected the meeting you want. Now it's going to give you all the details about that particular meeting with another blue button that says start. This is the actual start button. This is how you actually start your meeting. So you click on this start button. Okay. So from there on, it's just like as if you were running a class. We've already gone through the process of admitting people and so forth. So you'll be waiting for your invitees to arrive in your waiting room, and you'll admit them as you get, each one of them comes in, you click their admit button and enjoy your meeting.
John,
Yes, go ahead.
Suzette here, quick question. Could you quickly review what happens once you have started a meeting with someone and that's funny, that little baby. You've started a meeting and you've clicked on the link, and now you're in Zoom, and you showed, I kind of missed that, what happens next to actually start the meeting?
Okay, to actually start, we talked about before, right here, I'll go back here.
Okay.
You're in your Zoom app, okay? You click down here at the bottom where it says meetings.
Yeah.
This is on the day of your meeting, okay? You've already scheduled your meeting, you've already sent out your invitations, maybe several days prior to that. And you go down here where it says meetings, and you click on that, okay? When you click on that, this will pop up. If you've only got one meeting, the list on the left will only have one meeting in it, okay? If you've scheduled several meetings, this list will be longer, okay? And over on the right-hand side, you click on whichever one of these in the list you want to start, okay? And then when you do that, you'll get this thing on the right-hand side here. It says start, okay? Like I said, that's really a select button. You're selecting from this list. If you've only got one in the list, it'll say start, but in that case, you're selecting the one on the list, okay? When you click on that, then you'll see this. You'll see another start button, okay? Which is why I said the previous one was a select button. When you click on this, that's like going into your classroom. If you're teaching a class, I said, when you start the meeting, you're now in your classroom, okay? Think of it as entering the classroom, okay? You're now ready to admit students to the classroom, okay? In this case, you're admitting maybe your friends to a meeting, some kind of a lunch meeting or something like that. So when you click this start button, you're now in your classroom, okay? And you're waiting for people to go. Okay, all right, I see a thumbs up here.
Thank you for repeating that. You have some remedial students in the class.
Well, you're taking this class for the first time. We've got other people here who've taken it several times, so don't feel bad.
Questions?
Yeah, Pam.
So you showed how to start the class going into the Zoom app. Can you alternatively just go to the email that you sent?
Yes, you
and
can.
Click on the link and then just click as the host and go in that way?
Yes, you can click on the link, the invitation. It will know you're the host because you scheduled the meeting. So you don't have to tell it you're the host. But that's another way to get in. So if you have sent yourself an invitation, let's say you sent it out to your relatives and they're all going to get together, but you sent yourself an invitation, you can start up the meeting by just clicking on that invitation, on that link in that invitation.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. So one last thing, and we just throw this in case, the college itself has a help desk, and you can call them anytime you want to ask a question about how to use Zoom or whatever, and they will go through it with you. They will even, if you want to set up an appointment, they will even set up a practice session with you. If you want to schedule a meeting and have them attend the meeting with you and talk to you, they'll do that for you, okay? You can do this with a friend, but they're available also. So we're just giving you all the information here. Again, you're going to have this in your email box. It's going to be one of the pages that you'll print out. So that information is available to you if you need it. So, all right. Any other questions? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'll stop sharing and Everybody can see everybody now. Has everyone switched back and forth between speaker view and gallery view? I want you to just do that right now if you haven't done it up till now. Okay. One final comment here. Lighting is important. Okay. If you don't have lights on your face, it can get pretty dark. Okay. And you can set up your lighting before your Zoom meeting by basically what you do is you go in, well, okay, it was one other thing we probably ought to talk about. In your upper left-hand corner of your window here, there's a little green kind of a shield thing with a check mark on it. Do you see it? Click on that. Okay, when you click on that, you'll see a window pop up, and it has various options here, things that you can configure yourself. Okay. As you go down the list on the left-hand side of that window, there's one called Video. If you click on that, it will show you what you look like, okay, from the camera. If you have more than one camera, some computers, you know, some instructors like to have a second camera, like a little webcam, okay, and they'll use that, like maybe it's an art class and they're doing a sculpture or something. So they can put that camera on a little tripod, and then they can switch. If you look underneath your video there, it says camera, colon, and then there's a bar. Okay. If you plug a second camera into your computer, let's say you have a webcam, it will then give you the choice of switching between cameras. Okay. So you have a choice then of focusing on what or focusing on yourself. You switch back and forth. That's to be helpful depending on how you're teaching. Okay. The next one is the audio button. Click on the audio button. This allows you to test your speaker and your microphone. Okay. So the way you test your speaker is you click on this test speaker button. So click on that right now, just to test it out here. You'll hear tones played, and the loudness of those tones will give you some idea of how loud things are going to be. And you can adjust, there's that bar across the bottom, the slider. You can adjust that back and forth to raise or lower the volume, whatever's comfortable. Okay. And you can stop the tones when you get ready. Just click on stop. Right below that is the microphone test button. Okay. This is a way you can test to see if your microphone's working. Will people be able to hear you? Okay. So you click on the test microphone button, and when you do that, then it'll start recording your voice. You just talk to it, just as if you were talking on a Zoom meeting, and then you stop. It'll stop recording, and then it'll play it back to you, so you can hear what you sound like. So try that out. Just click on test mic and then talk to it. Okay, so you get an idea of how to do that. Okay. I noticed Suzette playing with the virtual background. That's about midway down the list. We'll click on that. This gives you a choice of being able to put things behind you that maybe look nicer than whatever's behind you right now. So I've got a virtual background behind me right now, and now, when you click on that, you'll see your own video, and you may, below your video, you'll see some choices behind you. Some of you may have them, some of you may not. Do all of you have some kind of pictures to choose from other than none? Anyone not have any? Okay, just try clicking on those and see what happens. Just pick one out and click on it. Okay, so Richard's got something going there. Suzette had something before. Okay, there you go. Bill's got his on already. That's all the fish back there. Now, I think that, Bill, isn't that a mural behind you? Oh, okay, yeah. So you're not using that. You've got your own mural to sit in front of, okay? So, okay, Pam's trying it. Barry, you want to try it? Just click on any one of those. See what, there you go. All right. So now you'll notice that they didn't all work that well. There's some funny things happening, okay? The reason for that is that some backgrounds, your natural background in your office, for example, will determine how well this works. how good the contrast is with you. The computer's got to figure out where you are and where the background is, and where you end and where the background starts, and so forth. So there's the thing you can do about that if your background isn't working that well. My background works fairly well, but I have gone and done something. I've created what they call a green screen. Okay. Have any of you ever heard of a green screen? You know what that is? Okay. All right. Well, when your weather forecaster on TV is pointing to the map and all and everything, that map is not actually there. That's added via what they call a green screen, and what they have is a green wall behind them, okay? And then the computer, wherever it sees green, it substitutes a picture, okay, a background, okay? And that's how it can tell you from the background if there's a green screen back there. Let me show you what I've got here, just so you get an idea of what a green screen would do. Okay, I have a curtain hanging behind me here. This is actually just a bed sheet. You'd think it would have to be green, but it doesn't really. Now let me show you what happens when you have a green screen and when you don't have a green screen. I'll add back in my background here. If I don't have a green screen, my head kind of changes shape as I move around, because the computer's having a hard time figuring out where I end and where the background begins. Where I have a green screen, I don't have that problem. It can pretty well tell where I end, okay? So having something like that behind you will go a long way toward eliminating this problem. Okay, so it's up to you. Some backgrounds work. It depends a lot on the lighting in your background, how good the contrast is between your face and your shoulders and so forth in the background, because that's how the computer, and it also looks at where you are. You're normally in the middle of the picture, and it has to guess basically what's you and what's the background. So in Barry's case here, I talked about lighting before. The lighting in my office is not ideal for this. So what I have done is hang a sheet behind the screen of my computer, a white sheet, and I have lights shining on that sheet. So what illuminates my face? If my face gets dark, okay? So by having some light on the wall behind the computer, it's soft illumination. If you just put a lamp there, and if you wear glasses, you're going to get glare on your glasses, okay? So there's my light on the right side. Normally it's not visible, but you can see a sheet doesn't do that, but a bright light in front of you will do that. So if I look off to the side, you can see it. So it's helpful if someone's going to at you for an hour and a half. It's good to take some time to get your lighting adjusted before you start.
John, could you say that again? You said you have a sheet behind your monitor and
I have a
lights
wall.
reflecting.
Okay, my computer sits on a desk, okay, and behind the desk is a wall. Okay, that wall is not it's tan colored wall. It has pictures all over it. It has pictures hung on the wall. Okay, the lights in my office are not shining directly on that wall, so I don't get much light on my face. When I look at the screen, I can see the screen fine, but in terms of you seeing my face, if I turn the lights off like this and this, that's what you see. Okay, so I add lights by now if I just put lights in the room, it isn't enough. I need light shining on my face directly. Okay? So the best way to do that is to have what they call soft lighting. It's what a photographer would call it. The soft lighting it's not a point source light, not a real bright source. What you want is sometimes you'll see they use an umbrella with a light shining up into the umbrella, and that provides soft light because it's even all over. So this is the way I do it, is I hang a sheet on my wall behind my computer. Okay, so as I look above my screen, there's the wall, it's just a sheet hanging on that wall. And then I can take lights and shine the lights on that wall. Like I've got a light to my right here, okay? And so that light shines on the sheet, and I've got a light on my left, and that light shines on the sheet. So overall, the light ends up coming in my face and
Reflecting back.
yeah, and that will allow people to see your face. Okay, now your lighting is good. I don't know if you have a window. The one side of your face is lighter than the other, but it's not objectionable. The room is generally lit well enough that it's easy to see your face. Okay. And
the color washes out because it's a window.
Mm-hmm. What you might want to consider doing is maybe partially closing the window or something to lower that light level. You'll have to experiment. You never
Yeah.
really know unless you try it. But by using this settings window where we clicked on that little green button on the upper left-hand corner and then just turn on the video, you can see how it's going to look with the lighting that you've got and see whether that's good enough. Okay.
I can do this test without actually being in the middle of a meeting. I can just open up Zoom
Yeah.
and
If you open up Zoom and then under Zoom, if you can select the preferences and this same window will pop up here. Or you can click on that little green thing in the upper left-hand corner. Whatever, however you want to do it. Yeah, so all of this can be done prior to the meeting. You can test your video, you can test your audio, all that stuff before you start your meeting.
I'm going to need to leave, but thank you very much. This was very helpful and useful. And
Well, Linda will
explained
send you
very
a
well.
copy of the whole presentation, so you'll be able to go back through it on your own. And,
Already
encourage
did.
you to do that.
Yeah.
It's in the
So-
chat. The PDF is in the chat. So if you guys click
You click
chat
on
on
it.
the bottom, you'll be
Mhm.
able to download it. Thank you,
Okay.
Linda.
All right.
Okay,
So thank you very much. And
All
I'm
right.
going to go. Bye-bye.
all right,
Bye, Pam.
bye-bye. If anybody has any more questions, hang on, we'll handle them.
My big question was about the glare in my glasses.
Okay.
So all I need to do then is hang a sheet in front of the window because I'm facing a window.
Yeah, if you have soft light, you won't have the problem. Yeah, you're looking into the window. I can see it in your
Right.
glasses. So, yeah.
So if I
As long
want,
as you can,
I'll probably need light. So I have one of those soft lights. I could probably put that behind a sheet, or do you think the soft light might be enough to get the
I think
glare
what
out?
I would do first is see if you can, well, if you hung the sheet over the window, you'll get soft light from the window then. And whether that's too bright or not, I don't know. You'll just have to experiment with it. But since you have the window there already, that can provide the light. It's just that you've got to soften it by hanging something between you and the window.
Yeah, this is like really annoying, when you see the glare. People can't see you. They're like, what's going on? It's weird,
You end up looking like a silhouette,
I know,
if
it's
you're,
weird.
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Thank you, John.
Barry's been quiet the whole time. You got any questions, Barry? Well, we're not hearing you. Let's see. Your microphone's on, but it's not picking up anything.
Barry, do you think your computer volume is down? Because we can see your mouth moving.
Yeah, I think her
We can't hear
microphone's not
you.
working. Yeah. So you'll need to work on that.
In the chat.
Okay. Yeah, you can type your question in the chat. You see a little chat
You can't-
button at the bottom of your screen. Click on that, and you can type in a message to all of us down at the lower, the right-hand side of your window, where it says "Type message here."
You can also do an audio check in that green, where that green check is, to see, like, just troubleshoot it. This would probably be a good time because,
Well, that little green dot at the upper left-hand corner of your screen will allow you to test your microphone and your speaker, so you can tell whether or not they're working.
you probably have to move your cursor up to the top next to the red button, and then just click on the green button, and then click on audio,
Mhm.
and then test mic.
When you click on the test mic, it'll record whatever you say, and then it'll play it back to you. So you can tell whether your microphone's working or not by doing that.
Where'd you get stuck?
Are you using a PC or a Mac? One for PC and two for Mac. PC, okay, you're using a PC. There are settings on your PC where you can select the mic that you want to use. Are you using a laptop or a desktop? One for a laptop and two for a desktop. Laptop, okay. So I don't know, some of the older laptops don't, well, you have a camera, and we're seeing you just fine, no problem there. So my guess is that your microphone is not turned on, and there's a setting in Windows that you can set to turn your microphone on. So you'll want to take a look at that, see if you can turn that on. You don't have to do it right now. You can do it later, but check that out, yeah. Okay. And if you do have, if you want to talk to somebody again, we got the college will help you, the people from the college can help you do that. Take you through it step by step. Okie doke. All right, any other questions? Well, I guess we're done then, aren't we?
Thank you again, John.
Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, John.
All right.
Good seeing everybody.
Thanks, Linda. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Bye.
Bye.
Stay well.